So, Ellen, am I just waiting for you to hit record?
Yes, we are now on YouTube and recorded in-house, and you should be all set.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. All right, well, good morning, everybody. I will call this meeting of the MAPC Executive Committee to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom video conference, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. This includes an extension until March 31st, 2025 of the remote meeting provisions of former Governor Baker's Executive Order of March 12, 2020, which suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical locations. To provide public access to the meeting while limiting the potential for abuse of video conferencing technology, members of the public may view the proceedings at https://www.youtube.com/user/MAPC Metro Boston. So with that, we are officially in order. I think I have to call the roll, if I'm remembering right, to officially come to order. So let me just bring that up. So do we have Imai? Colette?
Present.
Kurt?
Present.
Karen?
Present.
Adam, I'm here. Jen, I don't see Jen yet. Tom Daniel, I see Tom. Tom Galligani. John DePriest. Mo Handel.
Here.
Diego, we don't have. Shagun. Jared. Tabor.
Here.
Angie.
Here.
Gina. Steve Olenoff.
Here.
Courtney Rainey.
Oh.
Vandana.
Present.
Claire.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
Steve Silvera.
Here.
And Aaron.
Here.
All right, great. We are officially called to order. With that, we can move to the approval of minutes from July 19th, 2023, which were circulated by Mark yesterday. Any questions or comments on the minutes? And if not, I'd entertain a motion and second to approve.
So move.
Wellesley seconds.
Motion made by Mo, seconded by Colette. I think we should probably have the ED contract be a standalone vote. So given this is the only other vote I anticipate, I will call the roll again.
Adam, just be aware there are two votes. There's the vote on your successor.
Oh, the executive committee needs to vote on that. So I think we'll just, because of the nature of each of these, why don't we just take them separately? All right, so on the minutes, Imai.
Aye.
Colette.
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Adam, I vote aye. Jen. Tom Daniel.
Aye.
John DePriest. Tom Galligani. Mo.
Aye.
Shagun. Here. Jared. Tabor.
Aye.
Angie.
Aye.
Gina. Steve Olenoff.
Aye.
Courtney. Vandana.
Abstain since I was absent at the meeting.
Thank you. Claire.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Steve Silvera.
Aye.
And Aaron.
Aye.
All right, minutes pass. Thank you, everybody. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the recommendation from the officers for the acceptance of a new contract with Executive Director Mark Drayson. So I sent around a copy of the contract yesterday. It was at the last meeting of the Executive Committee that we asked for, and the Executive Committee voted favorably to authorize us to negotiate a new contract. That coincided with the officers finalizing a performance review or performance evaluation of Mark, which consisted of him providing a narrative self-evaluation, both verbally and in writing, and then the officers meeting to discuss that and our view on his performance, and then sharing a favorable performance review with Mark. Following that, Mark provided us with a draft of the terms he'd like to see in his contract extension, which were contained in the document I forwarded yesterday, which really simply were a 3-year term, backdated to July 1st, 2023, extending to June 30th, 2026, with a 2%, very modest 2% compensation increase on his base salary for this fiscal year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has or entertain a motion to approve the contract, which would then allow me to sign it and Mark to execute it and finalize it.
I move that we accept.
Second.
Give the motion to Tabor. Second, I think I heard Mo's voice first. Buzz, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, just a bit. I think it's helpful for an organization like ours when we have this, we all have this fiduciary duty as the governing body. If you or whoever did the analysis could give us a little bit more of a rundown, particularly on how Mark's compensation sort of relates to comparable compensation. I am absolutely in favor of this contract in every way, but I think just for the record, we probably should have a little bit more background on what you guys did.
So I will say, as part of the performance review, we asked Mark to solicit for us the manner in which his peers in other large RPAs across the country are reviewed, so that the officers in the future could structure something perhaps a little more formal or more formatted for a review. We did not do a pay comparison for either other RPA directors or other, I don't know if you would think it's fair, Mark, to call the MAPC a quasi-governmental or what the right terminology you would use is. We did not do any type of salary analysis. I would say quite confidently from just my own perusal of what people in that sort of quasi-ish state government entity are being compensated at, Mark is at the very least the mid, maybe frankly behind some others. So, depending on your perspective, fairness could be called into question, but I think that Mark's compensation continues to be, fair from the fiduciary point of view of those tasked with the governance of the MAPC.
I think that is consistent with what I sort of know from other places, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
Of course. Mark?
Yes. The only thing I would note is just historically, I mean, I've been here for 20 years now, and the about, I would say, 6 to 8 years ago, maybe Keith was chair at that point in time. It might have been Lynn from Salem. I'm not sure. We actually did a review of the salaries of folks running what we tend to refer to as the major metros, which are the large city regional planning agencies in our National Association of Regional Councils. There are about 36 of them. We actually meet every other Monday. And at that point, my compensation was considerably below the midpoint of those. So the officers and the executive committee had a period of, I would say, 2 or 3 years when I had slightly larger than usual increases in order to bring me up to that general position. And both prior to that and since then, the annual increases have been, I think it is fair to say, very modest. Certainly not nothing and entirely appropriate, but not particularly large. This is probably percentage-wise the lowest increase I've ever received here, and it's fine with me. It's all I'm asking for. But that's a little bit of the history. And if Keith or Aaron have anything to add, that would be fine with me, of course.
It's Keith. My general recollection is the same as Mark's. It was either when I was president or a vice president, but it was about a decade ago, and the goal was to bring Mark up to a higher level. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. Karen?
Thanks. I just related to that contractually, 3-year contract and the steps are not defined. And as I read it, then each year the board will reconvene to assess that. Is that is that the recommendation?
That is how it's structured. And in my experience as VP and now president, it's the way it's worked, at least for my tenure here, of giving annual consideration to what the increase may be.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, you're welcome. Steve Olenoff?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, and I don't need it to make a decision certainly, but the evaluation, do we get to get a look at that? I mean, should we or shouldn't we?
Yeah, Mark, do you have any concern sharing your narrative with the broader executive committee? I don't think it's privileged, but I would defer to your thoughts on that.
Well, it certainly is not a privileged document since I handed it to you in open meeting. So yes, there's nothing in my self-evaluation that I would not wish to share with members of the committee this year. There have in the past been, particularly in the period during COVID, I feel there were some things that I would not have preferred to distribute, but in this case, it would be fine. There's no actual response to that in writing. We discussed it across 2 meetings, but I have no difficulty sending the self-evaluation to the executive committee members, and will do so if it's okay after the conclusion of this meeting. Or Adam can, either way. So.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because it's not, I mean, is it a procedure that should be done or shouldn't be done? Or maybe for the next time, and when you're doing it, you're aware that it will be shown to the executive committee or not. That's all I really was, should that be a procedure or not?
Well, Adam has asked, Adam has asked that I do some research, which I am doing, about the review process for people in my position. That's national research. There are no other regional planning agencies in Boston. So, that can be a question that I ask as well. And then it's for the executive committee and the officers to decide. I would anticipate that this is the last contract that this committee will be negotiating with me. We've tended to handle the reviews in the interim. We've handled them seriously, but they are less serious than renegotiating a contract. There has been a little bit of a difference in the review process.
Erin.
I definitely don't want to belabor kind of this conversation, but I did want to add some additional context that I think is helpful for anyone that hasn't served on officers as well. And I'm sure they did it this year. As part of the compensation part of the conversation, we also talk about how Mark and the executive director and the executive team, how his request for increase or reasonable compensation relates to the other members working with it, other members of the agency. So, what is the average increase for staff members? Like, how does this relate? And we had a lot of conversations, especially when we were catching Mark up, and especially during COVID, when, we had to be really careful with that fiduciary responsibility. But I just kind of wanted to give context to those who haven't served in officers before. Like, it is when they say 2 meetings, they mean like 2 pretty lengthy meetings, I'm sure they had, especially when it's the first year. And then that annual review is really a check to make sure what the financial health of the agency is. And I have said, I will always say that Mark has always been, in my opinion, too conservative in what he asks for compensation, because he does care so much about that fiduciary responsibility and making sure, like, other people are fed, so to speak. So I just kind of wanted to share that insight, that it isn't just Mark that they talk about when it comes to compensation, but also how it relates to other employees of the agency, which I think is really important as part of that process.
Right, and just to back that up, Erin, thank you for that. Mark did provide us some context as we considered the renewal of what other employees in the agency had been granted at the turn of the fiscal year. And as Erin suggested, what Mark asked for himself was significantly lower than what the average MAPC employee received. And that really, in this case, was a testament to Mark's overall approach to balancing the budget of the organization, which we could have further conversations about the fairness of that to Mark, but it was Mark's request and the way Mark has generally conducted himself, I'm sure, for his entire tenure of putting the agency before himself. But yes, I think that's helpful context to know that we look at the broader picture when deciding in regards to both the renewal and an increase, as well as increases in years following within a contract term. We'll go Jared, Karen, then Steve.
Awesome. Hope this wasn't already covered. Hope it's not too indelicate of a question, but I just wanted to ask, is there, what is the process around sort of, sort of succession planning or just sort of future planning? Just wanted to see sort of where that is at.
So that it's not indelicate. It's a challenging question to answer in a public setting. I think Mark had just said, without being asked to or making firm commitments, that this would likely be the last contract negotiated between the executive committee, between the officers and Mark, and then approved by the executive committee. Again, without pressuring Mark to make plans, I think there's a general awareness that there will need to be a process to seek his successor sometime in the midterm, or nearish to midterm, and the officers have, without having formally started anything, are aware of it and have started to give some thought to how they might approach a process of finding Mark's successor.
Great, thanks. Yeah, totally, exactly. Not intended to put pressure or to make any kind of judgment on Mark's incredible tenure, but just thinking towards the future.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a reality of any organization that change is inevitable. Karen.
Yeah, just quickly, I just wanted to, Mark, thank you for offering to provide your self-evaluation, but I just would like to remind this body that we empower the executive committee to do the analysis and the negotiation. And I think it's, I think it's very generous of Mark to want to share that, but I think that it's probably valuable to have that document be as candid as possible for those folks who are empowered with that negotiation. So I would suggest, if the board would like to see that in the future, that be contemplated before the process starts. I would continue to support the executive committee or the executive board on the process they've gone through. And I still think we should go with the bar the doors and lock the windows approach for succession, but that's another issue.
Thank you, Karen. Steve Silvera.
So I can be quick here because Karen literally just made all the exact same points that I was going to make. That I think, while I appreciate Mark's offer, like releasing this evaluation ex post facto is just unnecessarily intrusive. We've all had plenty of time to evaluate Mark, and I think if people want to talk about the process in the future, we should do that in a separate meeting. But I think we've done enough here, and I would suggest that we move along if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, there has already been a motion and second, so a vote is appropriate. Yeah, Steve just moved the question. Absolutely. Town meeting. So with that, I will call the roll. Imai.
Aye.
Colette.
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Adam, I vote aye. Jen. I see you, Jen. There you go.
Aye.
Thank you, Jen.
Sorry.
It's okay. Tom Daniel.
Aye.
John DePriest. John, I couldn't hear you. Is that a yes? Yeah. Okay. Tom Galligani. I don't believe we have. Mo.
Aye.
Shagun.
Aye.
Jared.
Aye.
Tabor.
Aye.
Angie.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Steve Olenoff.
Aye.
Vandana.
Aye.
Claire.
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve Silvera,
Aye.
and Aaron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations, Mark. You can't leave. You can't get away yet.
Thank you very much. It remains an honor to serve this agency and to work with all of you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. The agency and the region are very lucky to have you. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, speaking of leaving. So I know Mark mentioned in his email to you yesterday, and I believe I mentioned in the email I sent as well, as of tomorrow, I will be starting as Executive Director Designate at the Mass Municipal Association. I'll then have an overlapping period with Jeff Beckwith before he retires, and then be alone in the seat at the end of the first week of September. After talking with my future employer tomorrow and talking it through with Mark, it seemed appropriate for me to step out of this role, just to be fair to both entities. And though I don't think there actually is a conflict, just to remove the appearance of any potential conflict. So after this meeting today, after executing the contractual document with Mark and tying up any other loose ends that Mark needs me to tie up, I will submit my resignation serving as president of the MAPC. And I just have to say, I served as vice president, I think, for 3 years, and president now for 1 year and a few months. And it has been an extremely rewarding experience to serve, doing some of that service during the course of the pandemic, working with Mark, working with Lizzie, working with Rebecca Davis before that, with all the members of the MAPC team, and getting the opportunity to work with all of you. Some of you have had an opportunity to work closely with and in the same room as before the pandemic. Some of you I wish I've had the opportunity to get to know better in this work, but just the nature of this virtual environment has made that a little more challenging. But I will leave knowing that this agency is in incredible hands, both with the staff working for the agency as well as this governing body, really just ever pushing forward on the goals and the objectives of the MAPC. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for the support you've provided in me serving in these roles over the past few years. And I'm not going far. As before some of you logged on, Keith Bergman was saying, hopefully it's the dawn of a new time where the MMA and the MAPC speak to one another, which I think will be very easy to accomplish, and I very much look forward to. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, we always speak to one another, Adam. It's just sometimes the tone is loud.
Well, we'll work on a good tone.
And we did work very well together during the pandemic. That was
right.
A commitment that Jeff and I made to each other, and that Lizzie and Rebecca and Jeff's team really implemented, I think, all selflessly. So I would like to thank Adam, I know on behalf of everybody here, for his incredible service. He's been a great sounding board for me, for Lizzie and Rebecca, I know. I've said it before. I think I said it in the email I sent out a few weeks ago, but I'll say it again. Adam played a particularly important role during the pandemic. In the meetings of mayors and managers that we had, sometimes in the region, sometimes our slightly expanded group of 20, and often in the statewide group, which met every Sunday afternoon, and was always a voice of reason and clarity that all sides, and sometimes there were sides, could respect. And so I'm not going to say that I'll miss him, because he's going to be right around the corner in a new role that we will all appreciate.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
So the statute and the bylaws say that the executive director shall fill vacancies among the officers if they occur in the middle of their term with the approval of the executive committee. So having discussed this with the officers, all of the officers, and with Aaron, I am going to recommend today that the board affirm my recommendation that we ask Erin Wortman to return to the position she held so proudly in the past, which is president of MAPC, and to remain so until at a future council meeting, we will elect a permanent president. And so that is the motion that I would lay on the table.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Mark, not to be overly nitpicky.
Yeah.
Safe to say that this vote will go into effect following the submission of my resignation and execution of your contract, just so we don't get into any murky.
Sure, absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, with that, any comments or questions on that matter? Okay, seeing none, I will call the roll again. Imai.
Aye.
Colette.
With thanks, Aaron, I.
Kurt.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Adam, I vote aye. Jen.
Aye.
Thank you, Jen. Tom.
Aye.
John DePriest. Mo.
Aye.
Shagun.
Aye.
Jared.
Aye.
Tabor.
Aye.
Angie.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Steve Olenoff.
Aye.
Vandana.
Aye.
Claire.
Yes.
Sam.
Aye.
Steve Silvera.
Aye.
And Aaron.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And thank you, Aaron. Thank you for stepping back in.
Thanks. Hope it's like riding a bike.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure it will be. So with that, we are to other business not known at the time of the posting of this agenda. Mark, anything else you'd like to raise?
The only thing I would add is to give a big congratulations, of course, to Adam, but also to Jen Constable. I think they are both basically starting a new job today or tomorrow. Adam, we know as the executive director of MMA, and Jen as the town manager in Hull, which I think is where she is right now, actually.
That is correct. So thank you
Yes.
very much, Mark.
Yes. So only asking that Jen maybe do a little work on the IT connectivity in her office, but that can be for the future of her tenure. A big congratulations to both of them. I'd like to make sure that's read into the record. Other than that, I do not have any other business. Adam.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Any other business? All right. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and we'll get you out of here in the fastest executive committee meeting on record.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. One last call of the roll here for the last time I'll have to do this. Imai. Aye. Colette.
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Adam, I vote aye. Jen.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
John. Mo.
Aye.
Shagun.
Aye.
Jared.
Aye, and well wishes.
Thank you, Jared. Tabor.
Aye.
Angie.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye, and have fun storming the castle, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you. Steve Olenoff.
Aye.
Vandana.
Aye.
Claire.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Steve Silvera.
Aye.
And Aaron.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
All the best, Adam.
Thank you so much, Mo. Take care.
You too.